The sun shone brightly on the Ouagadougou presidential palace, its white walls gleaming. Inside, President Ibrahim Traoré smiled. Reports piled high on his desk weren't just papers. They were stories of hope, grit, and growth. Burkina Faso was changing, getting stronger every day thanks to their self-reliance program. It was like planting tiny seeds that were now growing into strong trees, offering shade and fruit to everyone. President Traoré tapped a report about a new school built by the community. "Excellent," he exclaimed. People were learning, farming better, and building homes with their own hands. The country's markets buzzed with activity. Farmers proudly sold their crops, and craftspeople displayed their beautiful work. Children laughed as they played in newly built parks. The president felt a warmth in his heart. It wasn't just about money, it was about dignity. Burkina Faso was showing the world that it could solve its own problems one step at a time. He remembered when things were tough, when the country depended on others for help. But now things were different. The people were proud, and that pride was the strongest building block of all. He looked out the window, watching the bustling city. He saw not just buildings and cars, but the spirit of a nation rising. He knew there was still work to be done, but the journey had begun, and Burkina Faso was on the right path. The path to a brighter, more independent future. A future built by its own people, for its own people. It was a beautiful thing to witness. Just as President Traoré leaned back, savoring the good news, his assistant, Marie, entered the office. "Good morning, Mr. President," she said, her voice calm, but with a hint of something else. "Good morning, Marie. What news do you bring?" Marie approached his desk, holding a crisp, white envelope. "A letter arrived for you, sir. It's from Senator J.D. Vance of the United States." President Traoré took the letter, his brow furrowing slightly. He recognized the name. Senator Vance was known for his strong opinions. He opened the envelope and began to read. The letter spoke of strategic partnerships and opportunities for collaboration, but as he read further, a displeased expression crossed his face. The senator's words fell off. It was as if he didn't quite believe Burkina Faso could truly stand on its own. The tone was polite, but underneath, President Traoré sensed a feeling of looking down on them. The letter hinted that any help would come with conditions, almost as if they didn't think Burkina Faso could handle things themselves. Marie watched him carefully. "Is everything all right, Mr. President?" President Traoré sighed, placing the letter back on his desk. "It seems Senator Vance wants to offer us assistance, Marie, but his words, they don't ring true. It feels as though he underestimates our strength and resolve." He paused, thinking. Burkina Faso is not a child needing to be led. We are a nation rising, and we will do it on our own terms. President Traoré stood up, a determined glint in his eyes. "Marie," he said, "prepare a response to Senator Vance. We will inform him of Burkina Faso's path, a path of self-reliance and dignity." Marie nodded, already reaching for a notepad. "Yes, Mr. President. We will thank him for his offer," President Traoré began, pacing thoughtfully, "but we will also make it clear that Burkina Faso is capable of determining its own destiny. We appreciate partnerships built on respect, not pity. We do not need aid that comes with strings attached, aid that seeks to control our decisions." He stopped pacing and looked directly at Marie. "Tell him that Burkina Faso is building its future brick by brick with the sweat and determination of its own people. We are learning, growing, and becoming stronger every day. We are proud of our progress, and we will continue on this path, with or without external assistance." He paused, a small smile playing on his lips. "And Marie, add this. We believe in the power of Africa and the strength of its people. We are not waiting for handouts. We are building our own table." He returned to his desk, his purpose clear. Senator Vance needed to understand that Burkina Faso was not asking for permission. It was declaring its independence. It was time the world saw Africa not as a continent in need, but as a continent of potential. With a letter to Senator Vance drafted, President Traoré turned his attention to a bigger vision. He believed that Burkina Faso's success could be a spark, igniting a flame of self-reliance across the entire continent. He called Marie back in his office. "Marie," he said, "it's time we launched the Africa for Africa initiative." Marie's eyes widened. She knew this was a project close to the president's heart. "The Regional Partnership Program, sir." "Exactly," President Traoré affirmed. "We need to strengthen the bonds between African nations. We have so much to offer each other: knowledge, resources, and unwavering support. We must trade with each other, learn from each other, and stand together against those who seek to divide us." He explained his vision: African countries helping each other build schools, hospitals, and farms, sharing expertise in agriculture, technology, and healthcare, creating a network of support where each nation contributed its strengths and received assistance in areas where it needed it most. "It's time to show the world that Africa is not a single story of hardship," President Traoré declared. "We are a continent of diverse cultures, innovative ideas, and resilient people. Africa for Africa will be our testament to that truth." He wanted to prove that African nations could thrive by collaborating and relying on each other, building a future of shared prosperity and independence. The next day, President Traoré stood before a crowd of reporters, cameras flashing. He was there to announce the Africa for Africa initiative to the world. He spoke with passion and conviction, his voice resonating through the room. "For too long," he said, "Africa has been defined by its challenges. But today, we are writing a new chapter, a chapter of self-determination, of collaboration, and of unwavering belief in our own potential." He explained the goals of the initiative: to foster trade, share knowledge, and provide mutual support among African nations. He spoke of doctors from one country traveling to another to share their expertise, of farmers learning new techniques from their neighbors, and of businesses working together to create jobs and opportunities. "We are not waiting for others to solve our problems," President Traoré declared. "We are taking charge of our own destiny. We are building a future where every African child has the opportunity to thrive, where every African nation is strong and prosperous." His words were met with thunderous applause. The reporters scribbled furiously, capturing every word. People across Burkina Faso and beyond watched the press conference on television, their hearts swelling with pride. The speech sparked discussions in homes, schools, and workplaces. People debated the meaning of sovereignty, the importance of dignity, and the power of unity. President Traoré's message was clear: Africa was ready to rise together. The seed of self-belief had been planted, and it was beginning to sprout. Weeks later, Senator J.D. Vance arrived in Burkina Faso. He had come to see for himself what was happening, to understand the spirit that President Traoré had spoken of so passionately. He was initially skeptical, still clinging to his preconceived notions about Africa. Marie greeted him at the airport, her demeanor polite but firm. She accompanied him on a tour of the country, showcasing the local initiatives that were transforming communities. Senator Vance visited a school built entirely by volunteers, the bricks made from local clay. He saw a farm where farmers were using innovative irrigation techniques to grow crops even during the dry season. He talked to women who had started their own businesses, creating jobs and supporting their families. He listened to the stories of ordinary people, their voices filled with hope and determination. He saw the pride in their eyes as they spoke of their achievements. Slowly, Senator Vance began to understand. He witnessed firsthand the power of self-reliance, the strength of community, and the unwavering spirit of the Burkinabe people. He saw that the Africa for Africa initiative wasn't just a slogan. It was a movement fueled by the belief that Africa could solve its own problems, build its own future, and thrive on its own terms. He started to realize he had been wrong, blinded by old stereotypes and a lack of understanding. The condescending tone he had used in his letter now felt embarrassingly out of place. News of Burkina Faso's progress and President Traoré's inspiring leadership began to spread throughout Africa. Leaders from other nations took notice, eager to learn from Burkina Faso's example. They saw the success of the Self-Reliance Program and the potential of the Africa for Africa initiative. President Traoré received invitations to speak at conferences and gatherings across the continent. He shared his vision of a united and prosperous Africa, encouraging other nations to embrace self-reliance and to work together to overcome their challenges. One by one, other African countries began to implement similar programs, focusing on empowering local communities and building stronger regional partnerships. They traded goods, shared expertise, and supported each other in times of need. The spirit of Africa for Africa was catching fire, igniting a sense of hope and possibility across the continent. Farmers in Senegal learned new irrigation techniques from farmers in Burkina Faso. Doctors from Nigeria traveled to Ghana to share their knowledge of disease prevention. Entrepreneurs from Kenya partnered with businesses in Tanzania to create new jobs and opportunities. The continent was transforming, driven by its own people, its own resources, and its own unwavering belief in its potential. It was a testament to President Traoré's leadership and the power of self-belief. Africa was rising together. In Burkina Faso, the success of local initiatives was celebrated with vibrant festivals and community gatherings. These weren't just parties. They were showcases of achievement, testaments to the power of working together. In one village, people gathered to celebrate the opening of a new clinic built entirely by the community. They sang, danced, and shared stories of how the clinic would improve the health of their families. In another town, farmers proudly displayed their bountiful harvest, the result of their hard work and the new farming techniques they had learned. They feasted on the fruits of their labor, sharing the abundance with everyone in the community. Children performed plays about the importance of education and the power of self-belief. President Traoré attended many of these celebrations, his heart filled with joy. He saw the smiles on people's faces, the pride in their eyes, and the unwavering spirit of self-reliance that had transformed the nation. He knew that Burkina Faso had proven something important, that Africa could thrive independently, that its people were capable of building their own future, and that the continent was ready to take its rightful place on the world stage. The celebrations were a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness and collaboration could make a big difference. They were a testament to the fact that Africa's strength lay in its people, its communities, and its unwavering belief in itself. As the sun set over Burkina Faso, casting a golden glow on the land, President Traoré stood on a stage, addressing a crowd of thousands. It was the culmination of a year of hard work, dedication, and unwavering belief. The Africa for Africa initiative was thriving, and the continent was buzzing with a newfound sense of hope and possibility. Today, he said, his voice filled with emotion, we celebrate not just our achievements, but our spirit, the spirit of self-reliance, the spirit of collaboration, and the spirit of unwavering belief in ourselves. He looked out the faces in the crowd, each one beaming with pride. He saw farmers, teachers, doctors, entrepreneurs, and children, the future of Africa. He saw the strength of a continent united, determined to build its own future on its own terms. We have shown the world, he declared, that Africa is not a continent of despair, but a continent of hope. We have shown that we are capable of solving our own problems, of building our own prosperity, and of creating a better future for our children. The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices echoing through the night. Fireworks lit up the sky, painting a vibrant picture of hope and possibility. The message was clear: Africa could thrive independently. It had the resources, the talent, and the unwavering spirit to build a brighter future for itself. And as the celebrations continued late into the night, one thing was certain. The seed of self-belief had been planted, and it would continue to grow, transforming Africa into a continent of prosperity, dignity, and unwavering independence.